Ladies and gentlemen, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi started a three-day visit to Paris on October the 24th, during which he met with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron and other French senior officials. The president's visit to Paris is his third since taking office and the first visit since President Macron took office. Now, following their business lunch, the two leaders held a press conference and held talks on a host of issues regarding issues of mutual concern, of course, and ways of fostering bilateral ties in the cultural, educational, political fields, and also the economic field in particular, as the president was accompanied by a delegation of businessmen. And in order to shed light on the importance of this visit, we are very much delighted to have with us Dr. Ibrahim Hassan Omar, Professor of International Relations. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us, and let's start first with the relation between the two countries. It goes beyond the financial aspect. There is a lot of aspects, and the political one, economy. There is a lot of bilateral relations going between us and France. If you can shed some light on that.
Well, France always has a unique position when it comes to Egypt foreign relations, indeed. France, we don't talk only about the economy, but we talk about a package of mutual relations. We talk about cooperation in terms of culture, in terms of education, in terms of training, technology, and also in terms of energy. And on top of that, of course, in terms of stability, security, and military cooperation on the highest level between the two countries. Still, France also is unique because France, one of the leading investors in Egypt, last year, in 2016, France was the fourth foreign country investing in Egypt, with a package over $4 billion US dollars, which also makes more significance to the visit today. Indeed, the visit is coming at the due time, because Egypt and even France are facing similar challenges when it comes to terrorism, for instance. Paris and France have been targeted several times in the last couple of years by terrorism attacks, and the same Egypt faces today. So also the level of cooperation between the two countries has always been high, in a very high level. As you just mentioned, this is the third visit to Paris from President Sisi, but this one is unique because this is the first visit since Emmanuel Macron, the French president, took office a couple of months ago, and it marks a new era of cooperation between Egypt and France. We have always to remember that France is probably different from any other European nation when it comes to the relation with Egypt. We have a historic long record of positive relationship between France and Egypt, not only in terms of economy, but in terms of culture, on top of the cooperation. And Champollion stone was decoded by a French scientist. So the French, even people themselves.
It's Rosetta Stone.
Yeah,
that was
Rosetta Stone.
uncovered by
Yes.
Champollion, who is a French.
Sometimes they call it Champollion stone because of the scientist who discovered it and decoded the hieroglyphic language. And opened the way for us to know exactly the pharaoh's, the pharaoh's civilization and the details of the pharaoh's life. So we talk about long history between Egypt and France. The French people also, they like Egypt culture, Egypt civilization, and French tourists also, one of their basic magnets is Egypt. So this visit indeed came at the right time, because really we need to strengthen the relationship between Egypt and France, and we need also to get the learned lessons in different aspects of the fields of mutual cooperation. especially when we talk about Egypt undertaking a new era of economic reforms, and the French performance when it comes to economy is really positive and strong. So there is a lot of things and we need to take from France. Even they signed 16 memorandum of understanding and agreements and this visit in transportation, technology, and energy.
And this is quite a huge number of
Yeah,
memorandum of
exactly. And it's real reflection of how the relation between the two nations is really tight.
Yes.
And the President Sisi is really paying very much deep attention to the values of our relations with France.
Yes. Sir, in addition to all the fields of cooperation that you mentioned, there is also the military cooperation between Egypt and France. And His Excellency President Sisi said that Egypt's Navy has become the world's second largest user of naval groups' military assets after the French Navy. Now, what is the strategic significance of such ties between Egypt and France, military ties in particular?
I think at the recent times in Egypt, such cooperation is really very significant and important for us. We talk about Egypt as a strategic country in the region, surrounded with a lot of challenges, all the directions around us. So keeping our armed forces in high position, high training level, and high advanced level of technological and weaponry and every possible aspect of readiness should be, and it is already at the highest level of attention of the president and the political decision-making level in Egypt. And of course, when we talk about this, comes the relationship with France. And this level, Egypt with France in the last years have been signing and performing several agreements. We got from France the Rafale fighting planes and jet planes, also the Navy equipment and radar systems, which keeps Egypt armed forces and the top notch of armament. And we have to be proud of that, because Egypt's army today is capable of controlling the Egyptian lands from all directions. We talk about endless trials of penetrating Egyptian borders, whether from the eastern or the western or the southern borders. So we need to be always in full readiness to face such challenges, because terrorist activities, they never stop. They are always developing their capacities and their powers, and they never stop. And it's continuous competition between the state, official state, and the army, and between the terrorism groups. And of course, we all know about recent developments and consecutive successes made by the aerial forces and border security and armed department. They really made great successes in terms of fully controlling the borders of Egypt, especially with Libya today. We talk about 1,200 kilometers of joint borders between Egypt and Libya, and considering the shaky and unstable situation in Libya, it's continuous sources of challenging for us. So yes, I see the cooperation with France comes at the right time and in favor of Egypt, and developing our capacities and keeping our armed forces always in state of readiness and ability to defend our territory. And I'm quite sure why I'm saying defending, because Egypt army is a defense army, not aggression army.
Yes.
So we are very much
throughout history. Has always been like that.
Throughout history, indeed. We have to be proud of that. And we have to be proud today also that Egypt army today is on top of its readiness position and capacities.
Yes, I'd like to ask you about, The human rights issue was, one of the concerns of the press within the press conference, and I'd like to take your opinion on how the president tackled the questions regarding the human rights issue.
Well, that's quite a good question indeed. And but before commenting on the president's answer, I would like to also mention the French president comment, which was really positive. And he started it was telling that it's not proper to tell a president of state what to do and what not to do. And that was really a strong message to those who are trying to create sort of chaos when it comes to human rights in Egypt. The answer of the president indeed was laying foundations for logic understanding of the situation in Egypt. Why always we are focusing on very small and little branch of human rights, and we are leaving the whole issues of human rights standing alone. We talk about economic rights and we talk about stability rights, and why we talk about some very few rights of individuals who claim their rights to be violated, while we are leaving 100 million of Egyptians whose right of stability and security is the utmost level of attention from the president and the government. So now we need, also as he mentioned, we are going through a transitional phase in Egypt, and that's really very challenging. We have a lot of problems. We have not only the problems of terrorism, we have the economic problems, and we have a lot of accumulated crisis over the last 40 or 50 years. And all these problems today, the state is tackling them on parallel lines. So while we are going in economic lines and making restructuring process and reforms in economy, we're also making reforms in terms of health services, and in terms of education, in terms of culture, and in terms of dealing with the problems of slums, which also a very challenging difficulty faces Egypt today, with millions of Egyptians are living in improper places, and we have also to mention that in the last year probably more than 45 slums they were developed, and many families were transported from some slum areas like Manshit Nasser, like Maspiro area, and they moved to really well-established living communities like Hay al Asmarat and other places, which is really reflecting dignity and pride for living there. So yes, Egypt is going through many parallel lines at the very same times. And this is the most important answer when it comes to human rights. We talk about the human rights of 100 million Egyptians living on Egyptian land, who need to be developed, who need to be educated, who need to be receiving proper health care and proper cultural care and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Ibrahim Hassan Omar, Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And shedding light on the importance of the historic visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to France. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Right, let's move now to the upcoming song all about youth, and we'll be having right after that a youth interview about the model of the European Union in Ain Shams University.